All right, so let's set the scene here. I have to do this every video because, well, people watch a video and this is the first video of mine that they've seen. Bottom line is this. Ant-Man did not perform well. Quantumania did not perform well. It missed its projections by the supposed experts by like $50 million. They didn't do as well in China, even though it had Chinese release. They didn't do as well in China as what they anticipated. With that being said, the first instinct, and you have to understand that most people are normies. They're not going to understand all the cultural stuff we're talking about on YouTube. They're not going to understand it. But you have to understand a lot is riding on this. Particularly these like Shill media types, Access media types, they do not want, as well as these other folks that are maybe in the content creation space, they do not want their ideological enemies to be correct. Now, it sounds silly when talking about something like this, like, why are we talking about the ideology part of it? Well, that's the truth. When guys like myself say what we say and other folks be it in the content creation space or whatever have been calling for what this was, they much rather walk around like it don't stink as opposed to admitting that we were correct on anything, period. They don't want to admit that. So what's the first instinct? When you look at all these guys, Hollywood Reporter, Variety, it's typical, you know what? They get out there and they say, well, Ant-Man is, it's killing. It's number one. It's the top, how they word it, it's the top movie in its franchise, right? But that doesn't say anything when you look at it. Actually, no, it says something. It says something completely opposite when you look at it in context. Now, I'll leave for you. We talked about it before, but I'll leave for you because it's not really the dedication of the video to try to figure out why on earth they would undermine the obvious. Okay. With that being said, the bottom line is that it performed terribly in China. They didn't get the international box office that they thought that they were going to get. And now the movie is really doing bad. And now, late to the party as they always are, they only will criticize when it's safe. Now the Shill media is having to concede, okay, well, this didn't do as according to plan. Now, with that being said, we have to talk about the box office part every video because someone is going to watch this video and not understand what box offices mean. Okay, just because a movie makes $200 million, let's say, in a box office does not mean that the movie made $200 million. As far as the producers or the studios making their money. That's not how it works. In the case of this movie, in Ant-Man Quantumania, they spent $200 million. So when you look at it in context, they say, well, it's the best movie. It's also the movie that they spent the most on. Now, if you looked at it in context of like breaking down how much the ticket sales were and just doing basic math, you will see that less, even in the first weekend, less people saw this movie than they seen the others. Because now, in comparison to like the previous Ant-Mans, ticket prices are like $4 more. So when you consider that and you consider the fact they spent more money than what they had before, the writing was already on the wall. But they wouldn't concede that early on because they wanted to, again, walk around like it don't stink and not admit that their ideological enemies that they consider, well, they don't want to admit that we were correct. So they don't get, this is the other thing, they don't get 100% of the y'all got to stop talking about, hey, they made $300 million, therefore they spent $200 million, therefore they make a profit. It's not how it works. The theaters, and definitely as long as this movie stays in, that percentage goes down. But if it's a 50-50 split or a 60-40% split, whatever you want to call it, the studios do not get 100% of the box office. That's not how it works, not how it ever works. Internationally, that number goes even higher in terms of going towards the theaters and less going to the actual producers and studios or what have you, okay? Here international, like Chinese, I believe it's like 75% of the box office goes to the CCP and the 25% will go to Disney or whoever's releasing the movie. So when you consider all that in context, well, it makes for a disaster. And now, as you see right here, these guys are finally starting to admit it. Shill Media themselves, the direct, sets historically bad box office record. Marvel Studios said it with Ant-Man Quantumania. 70% drop off. 70% drop off. We've not seen that. And for the second week, we've not seen that with any other Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. Now, this is what they were trying to do, is segue this into like, this is the next big thing, right? Next big phase. People aren't interested. That's the bottom line. People aren't interested. Be mad at me all you want, but people aren't interested. I know, and this is what Marvel screwed up, trying to appeal to a demographic of weirdos that are flaky and inconsistent. You cannot bank, and I say this to any business owner, right? Well, you can lead with all this diversity bull crap. When you're in entertainment, right? That is the flakiest audience that you could possibly try to appeal to. Disney said they were making it a point. Marvel Studios said they were making it a point. And I'm not even saying that this whole movie was woke. Yeah, the tokenized, of course, Kang, but I'm not even making that claim. I'm not making that claim at all. I am just saying that people are going to check out. Whether you like it or not, in order to continue at the rate that they were at, you need the money from your ideological enemies. The people that they can see, that they don't like. They drew the line in the sand. Back when Marvel was at its top, everybody liked it. Didn't matter where you were at politically. Everybody enjoyed it, including myself. Those days are done. Now you have large bodies of people just saying, I'm out. They're checking out. So what's next? Now you're left with this flaky audience. Well, they talk about you on Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. But you cannot make the numbers, meet the numbers that you were meeting before. There is no enthusiasm for this world anymore, period. It's become mundane, and y'all can lead with try to butter up the numbers, all you want. The bottom line is that it's not performing well. So now what? Will they correct the course? Of course not. I don't expect them to do that. They all in. They went all in on their artists. So even if you did change, I don't see you getting the people that were once fans of your material. I don't see you getting them back on board. The best Disney can do, as far as I'm concerned, is sell off the assets. And then maybe that'll get some more interest. But as far as Disney and Marvel Studios acting as it does right now, they'll get you with your nostalgia bait. They'll probably bring back an Iron Man or something to try to make another $1 billion movie. But like just sitting there pumping out successful films back to back to back, I think those days are like over. Wherever you're viewing the content, I appreciate you. If you enjoyed it, you may be interested in my comic book company, Rippaverse Comics. Our first book and campaign, ISOM #1, brought in $3.7 million with tens of thousands of satisfied customers. Visit Rippaverse.com to check out our store and stay up to date with the latest campaigns from one of the hottest new comic book companies. Also, my first big step towards a parallel economy was the development of my personal website, ericdjuly.com. This entirely replaced my Patreon. Now, if you enjoy this content, please consider becoming a member over at the website. We have an ever-expanding list of perks for various membership tiers, a forum, and a phone app. Some of these perks will even benefit you if you're fans of the Rippaverse. Anyway, I appreciate you so much for being a supporter and or customer. I even got a little love for my haters.